May we have the video, please?
And leverage the power of data to provide innovative, sustainable solutions. We are Syncopain India, a shared ambition of over 8,000 employees to be the leader in light and sustainable construction, in making the world a better.
Also a certified Great Place to Work and recipient of a number of global and national accolades like IPMA, S&P Global Platts and Economic Times Innovation Awards. Through a reliable transmission grid, Sterlite Power is contributing to nation building and enabling India's shift to a renewable energy future at an accelerated pace. And this is only a beginning.
Mr. Sunil Kant Punjab to kindly take the session forward.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to this session on addressing one of the most important sectors of our industry. As in any country, the small and mid-sized enterprise is the backbone of the industry and builds its strength also for the large industry to function. It, like in many other countries, faces multiple challenges. We shall try and address one of the important ones today, which is on finance. And we have an outstanding panel here to discuss this, including Dr. Vivek Joshi, Secretary to the Government of India, Department of Financial Services. Welcome, Mr. Joshi. He is involved in handling policies, schemes, legislation pertaining to the banking sector, the insurance sector, financial institutions, financial inclusion, and pension reform. He also serves as a member on the board of RBI and SBI. Chetna Sinha is the founder and chairperson of Mandeshi Foundation and founder and chairperson of Mandeshi Bank. This is a unique institution set up to support rural women and rural women entrepreneurs. And we would like to hear from you, Chetna, a little bit later about this magic that you have created of hundreds and thousands of entrepreneurs and also the support that you have given them, helping them to be successful. Ravi Arora is Senior Vice President and Global Public Policy and Government Affairs for MasterCard. Ravi has done a wonderful job in fostering collaborations in the digital economy, including in many parts of agriculture, small industry, and it will be useful, Ravi, to hear from you a little bit later how each of these sectors benefits from what MasterCard brings to the table, especially what you have done of late in terms of building trust, because that's one of the challenges we have, and how do you use technology to supplement what you do or to make it more effective. Ravi Raghavan is Managing Director of Bharat Fritz Werner. specializes in setting up new manufacturing sites and utilizing IT for lean practices in machine tool manufacturing solutions and technological innovations. And of course, it's a large enterprise making CNC equipment, but deals with all kinds of industries, including small and mid-sized companies. Mr. M. Punaswamy is founder and chairman of Pure Chemicals, and has grown his company from a micro enterprise. And it will be interesting to hear from you about your own journey. Since we are talking of MSMEs, you are one who's traversed a fair bit of this journey already. So how you handled some of these challenges and what you see happening today would be helpful to hear. And he also co-chairs CII's National MSME Council. So you represent not just yourself, but a large number of MSMEs. Umesh Revankar is Executive Vice Chairman of Shriram Finance, which is instrumental in Shriram Transport's ascent to India's top commercial vehicle financer. You actually set the tone of how the entire industry works and functions. And also it will be useful to hear from you the role that NBFCs are increasingly playing as the last mile financier. They are the ones who actually are have figured out a way to get us to the access to finance where the larger institutions, the commercial banks are not quite able to get the kind of reach. The challenges, of course, are set by part historical methods of financing, more collateralized based. The interesting thing, let me take a step back actually. The interesting thing is there is no lack of intent from the government's part on trying to support the MSMEs. There is both a large number of schemes available and a very significant amount of funding available. But it will be interesting to hear from Mr. Joshi why, despite that, does this sector continue to face a challenge of lack of access? Why do people do not still quite know fully about the different schemes that are available, the different opportunities that are available to this sector to access finance, and how he believes we can propagate these more than they have been already. And today, with the advent of technology, with India using more and more smart devices, by India having digital identities of Aadhaar and a whole host of other initiatives in public digital infrastructure, how can we improve this reach? The problem, of course, is not only finance. The challenges are across quality, consistency, service quality, and a host of other issues. But this is one which appears to have become a big hurdle in the ability of many of the enterprises to be able to grow beyond where they are. What we want is for a micro enterprise to grow and become a small one, for a small one to grow and become a medium one, so that we constantly have this journey where each enterprise figures out its own growth path. And I think with the kind of panel we have, which is pretty extensive, as also covering many aspects of this industry, we should be able to get the answers that some of you may have. However, if you don't find them, feel free at the end of the session, we will keep some time for you to ask any questions that you may have, and you can direct them to any one of the panelists, or we can pick who can answer this for you. We have, of course, also of late seen the advent of a very large number of new enterprises. Startups. Startup itself is not new. All of our companies, when they started, were startups. But the startups of the kind that we are seeing right now, and their ability to serve specific felt needs or meet societal needs in a much better fashion, is almost magical. India is growing new enterprises at about the fastest rate in the world. We have the third largest startup ecosystem in the world. And that has an entirely different kind of financial system available and accessible to it, whether by way of venture capital or by way of private equity or by way of angel funding. And I think that too is an important component in the mix of today's access to capital for growth of industry overall. We are also seeing increasingly many established enterprises creating a separate pocket to support enterprises outside themselves, either through family offices or investment offices or one member of the family getting engaged in new enterprise. So it's a wonderful new initiative that is taking place in India. It's almost magical to see how in a very short period of time, India has taken a key position in the world of startups, especially those driven by technology. So I'll stop here for now, and I shall come in once the secretary has spoken. I'm going to invite Dr. Vivek Joshi to give us his address first, and then we will have an interactive session with all of the panelists, including Dr. Joshi. Dr. Joshi, please.
Thank you, Mr. Munjal, and my fellow panelists. It's indeed an honor and a privilege to be here this afternoon and share my thoughts on the theme of today's discussion, that is empowering of SMEs. I must reiterate some of the portions of the theme to set the tone of the session and for the benefit of the gathering. As has been already mentioned by Mr. Munjal here, we all know that SMEs constitute the vibrant fabric of India's economic landscape, serving as engines of innovations, employment generation, export promotion, and regional development. However, their potential remains largely untapped due to certain challenges in accessing timely and adequate financing. Addressing this issue is a strategic imperative for steering our SMEs towards sustained growth and competitiveness. Now, as the country embarks on the vision of Viksit Bharat by 2047, under the dynamic leadership of our Prime Minister, it is imperative to work on various areas such as increasing our per capita income, improvement in infrastructure, poverty alleviation, improving literacy rates, and expanding access to education and health care, greater industrialization and job creation. While country has made significant strides in various aspects of development and is often cited as the emerging global economic power, there is still a lot of work to be done to make it as a developed nation. 10 years ago, India was the 10th largest economy in the world. Today it is the 5th largest economy with an estimated GDP of 3.7 trillion US dollar. In the next 3 years, country is expected to become the 3rd largest economy in the world with a GDP of around 5 trillion US dollar. Development of MSME is critical for achieving this vision. This can be gauged by the significant contribution of this sector to the Indian economy. This sector contributes to around 30% to our GDP, 41% to our total manufacturing, and 46% of our exports. It has also been instrumental in improving the representation of women in the economy, which is evident from the fact that the share of MSMEs owned by women entrepreneurs stands at around 20% of the total registered MSME. Coming to the banking ecosystem, I would like to share that Government of India continues to strive to create conducive business environment enabling the MSMEs to thrive and contribute to the economy. Many initiatives have been taken for simplifying the regulatory processes, enhancing digital public infrastructure, and constantly introducing business-friendly measures. Major steps that have been taken to improve credit share and flow of credit to MSMEs, such as Mudra loans, coverage of MSME loan under specialized credit guarantee schemes like CGTMSE, ECLGS, launch of TRADES platform, account aggregator framework for meeting the working capital requirement of MSMEs, etc. I would like to take this opportunity to elaborate on some of these initiatives. A broad trend in the overall growth in credit of scheduled commercial banks for MSME segment indicates a year-on-year growth of 17.29%. That is from almost 21 lakh crore in FY22 to 24 lakh crore in FY23. During the same period, the year-on-year growth in the total advances was only 15.5%. Also, the share of MSME in total advances has been consistently maintained in the range of 17 to 18% since FY20. The share of micro and small enterprises out of total MSME credit outstanding of scheduled commercial banks is around 80% of the total MSME portfolio. In addition to loans given by scheduled commercial banks, NBFC's credit outstanding to MSME has also increased from 1.76 lakh crore in FY22 to 2.5 lakh crore in FY23. This increase has been primarily led by loans to micro and small enterprises, which accounted for more than 86% of total NBFC's MSME lending. We will hear more from our fellow panelists here about NBFCs. Now, there is also a focus to the new to credit enterprises in MSME sector while keeping viability considerations in view so that meaningful financial inclusion can be achieved. The outstanding portfolio as on last March under the new to credit category of MSME by the banks stood at 1.8 lakh crore, which is 7.5% of MSME credit outstanding of SEBs. The credit disbursed to new to credit MSME borrowers also recorded a YoY increase of around 37% for the year ending in March 23. To further strengthen the credit delivery system and to facilitate lending to the MSEs without collateral security, provisions of guarantee cover is available for member lending institutions under Credit Guarantee Fund Trust for Micro and Small Enterprises, that is CGTMSE, and Credit Guarantee Fund for Micro Units. While the first one is implemented by MSME Ministry, the second fund is implemented by the Department of Financial Services. Recognizing the importance of credit guarantee schemes in supporting the MSME ecosystem, Government through its budget announcement of 2023 decided to augment CGTMSE corpus by 9,000 crore rupees. It further envisages to enable additional flow of collateral-free credit of 2 lakh crore to MSEs with a special focus on retail trade, MSEs from weaker segments of SC/ST women entrepreneurs. It is also noteworthy to mention that during COVID, Emergency Credit Line Guarantee Scheme of Government of India was instrumental in supporting the banks in extending collateral-free and 100% guarantee credit to the adversely impacted businesses in a timely and speedily manner. Loans amounting to 3.68 lakh crore have been guaranteed, benefiting around 1.19 crore borrowers under ECLGS scheme. While the share of MSME in terms of number of borrowers is approximately 95%, the terms of amount of guarantees issued, the share is around 66%. Funds out of priority sector lending shortfall amounting to rupees 2.5 lakh crore have been allocated to SIDBI and 40,000 crore to Mudra Limited, a subsidiary of SIDBI, in the last 5 years for lending to the member lending institutions, which further on lend to MSMEs under their respective refinancing schemes. These refinance schemes provide bank and financial institutions access to low-cost funds that further enable them to on-lend to the MSME borrowers at affordable rates. At this point, I would also like to emphasize on the importance of Government of India support to the informal sector of the economy through schemes like PM Swanidhi and PM Vishwakarma and their contribution in pursuing the objectives of financial inclusion. The PM Swanidhi, as most of us know, has helped to formalize the credit to street vendors by providing collateral-free credit and incentivizing credit discipline and digital payments. Similarly, PM Vishwakarma is envisaged to support the artisans and craftsmen in upgradation of their skills and adoption of modern tools and machines by providing collateral-free loans to these artisans. I firmly believe that these interventions will create new opportunities for these micro units to grow through timely financial support and strengthen the MSME ecosystem. The other focus areas for MSME is application of innovative and cutting-edge technology for lending to this sector through initiatives like TREDS and account aggregator platforms. These initiatives are important components of India's inclusive growth, which ensures timely delivery of financial services to the public in general and MSME in particular. A lot of progress have been made in terms of providing loans to MSMEs through TREDS and account aggregators. But still there is a lot of scope for improvement, considering that the total requirement is much more than what progress we have made. Department of Financial Services has been actively working with various stakeholders, including RBI, to make the account aggregator framework more successful and secured, and to enable seamless collections and sharing financial information pertaining to the customers with their explicit consent. In my opinion, synergizing these technologies will further facilitate efficient delivery of credit in digital mode to the eligible beneficiaries, enhance the credit discipline through digital footprints, and development of an ecosystem conducive to the growth. I am confident that sharing of various initiatives, policies and ideas by concerned departments, regulators and various stakeholders in the financial and MSME sector would help in synergizing efforts towards organic growth of this sector and increasing their contribution towards nation building. India is moving steadily towards achieving the vision of Amrit Kal by the year 2047. The agenda and the objectives set forth for Amrit Kal are ambitious and far-reaching. The future holds promise, driven by responsive policy making, adaptable regulations, integrated digital ecosystem, AI, financial inclusion, and fruitful collaborations between traditional institutions and startups. We need to catalyze these initiatives, which is contributing to inclusive growth of the nation in an exponential manner with a special focus on MSME sector. I convey my best wishes to CII for organizing this event and for giving me this honor to present my views here. And I look forward for the views of the co-panelists and question answers from the participants. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Dr. Joshi, for that pretty comprehensive address. To supplement what he said, I should tell you there are 767 schemes for MSME financing right now. And this is, amongst these, 306 schemes have been spearheaded by central government and 461 by various states and union territories. So maybe at some point, a little bit later, we will talk about how do you actually get the information out to the users? How does all sectors and all sizes and all sections and all verticals of a small industry get access to information, knowledge about these, and to be able to reach those which are appropriate for them? I think it will be helpful. Chetna, let me come to you. You're a little bit of an adventurer, or you kind of always have been. I understand in 1996 you applied for a license to RBI and got rejected because some of the promoters were not literate. And you went back and organized literacy classes for them and then set up the Mandeshi Mahila Cooperative Bank. And this has been magical, the journey. And you have done so many interesting, unusual, but meaningful things. I understand during the demonetization phase, you collected coins. Your members went around home to people's places, giving them coins, taking notes, and then turning them into banks. So how do you come up with such innovation ideas, and how do you think this has actually impacted the lives of the members that you're trying to address?
Thanks, Sunil. And I'm glad that you started with this question. You know what? I was sitting and listening to Mr. Dr. Joshi and also looking here. And I thought, like, you know, what will our women in the village who are doing business on the street with the 50 degrees Celsius or 48 degrees Celsius must be thinking, right? That is, and that's what you said, that promoting members not literate, RBI said that we cannot issue a license. But in that situation also our women will say, so what? We will learn to read and write. And they went again. And when they went again, I'm completing that story, to the Reserve Bank of India. You know what they said? We cannot read and write, but we can count.
Wow, wonderful.
Yeah. And they said, ask us to calculate the interest of any principal amount. If we fail, don't issue the license. But tell your officers to do it without calculator and see who can calculate faster. Right? So sitting on the shoulders of these wise women, I'm so proud to share with you that today, whenever our women, they decide to start the business, everybody will say, you won't be able to do it. It's not possible. Why? no collateral, no credit score, no experience, no education, आप नहीं कर पाओगे. And in spite of that, they say, I will do it. Right? And मुझे बहुत है, थोड़ा हिंदी में भी बोल लेती हूँ, कि मुझे बहुत लगता है कि हम लोगों के दिलों में बेटियां रहती हैं, दिलों में बहुएं रहती हैं, विलों में क्यों नहीं रहती हैं? विल में तो रहनी चाहिए ना, otherwise they will not have these issues, right? विल में होंगी तो. But coming back to the solutions, then what did we do? One of the lady, Kalpana, she wanted to start a business of cold press oil, and she came to the bank, Mandeshi Bank, I want loan, no credit score, no. She had a digital transaction history. And I'm proud that Ravi is here and we have done a digital financial literacy with MasterCard together. But with that history of digital transaction, creating the credit score, she doesn't have collateral, but we can create an asset registrar. And I'm proud to say that Kalpana started a business. Today she is, Dr. Joshi, is on the ONDC, and every month on the platform of Open Network Digital Commerce, Mandeshi Foundation has registered her, which means she has branding, packaging, logistics, everything she has to prepare herself. First generation entrepreneur. And today, every month, she is selling the cold press oil of 500,000 kgs, and not only B2C, but B2B. So I stop here, Mr. Sunil, and I say, you know what I've learned from Kalpana is never give poor solutions to poor people. They are smart. If they get opportunity, they can do the business.
Thank you. So let me take Ravi on this, since you pointed to Ravi. Ravi, can you tell us, how do you think, the question that was raised earlier as well, the challenge that we face in trying to bridge the gap that we currently have in funding, how and where can technology play a role, and how can organizations like yours step in and create the partnerships that can actually bridge this gap in some manner and also move the whole system forward?
Thank you very much, Sunil. And first of all, thank you to CII, and really great to be part of this distinguished panel. And so thank you, Sunil, for the question, and Chetna ji for the call out, because this has been, as Chetna mentioned, a tremendous partnership for MasterCard with Mandeshi. And to build on your question, Sunil, I think that, from MasterCard's perspective, we look at, when we think about, small businesses, MSMEs, Dr. Joshi already talked about, the role that MSMEs play in the country's GDP, employment, growth, all of that, right, which is phenomenal. And to support that, and given the rapid pace of digitization and where digitization is headed, SMEs need the ability to go digital, be cyber secure, be paid, receive payments digitally, right? All of these are needs and are basic needs. So how then, so working with Mandeshi, with Chetna's organization, I think we also set up this Rural Women Chamber of Commerce, right? And this Rural Women Chamber of Commerce is one example where, women are being empowered. There is we have these kind of partnerships where we bring in the technology, the know-how, the platforms. And talking about platforms, Sunil, I look at, let's say, the agriculture sector, right? So in the today, roughly, smallholders, small leasehold farmers, they account for 86% of India's agrarian economy, but they have difficulty in sourcing farm products. They are often dependent on middlemen for pricing and so forth. So this is where look, MasterCard, we are a technology company in the payments ecosystem. So what did we do? We brought that technology to connect these different network of players in the ecosystem. So connecting small leasehold farmers with farmer producer organizations, with buyers like Lawrencedale, Leaf is one organization in South India. So what we do is we have a product called Farm Pass. And on Farm Pass today, we have 2 million farmers that have been onboarded. And so far, our goal is by next year to have 10 million farmers across, and keep growing the number of states. I think we're already in about 8 states. Roughly 400 crores of goods have been sold, and more than 1.5 million metric tons of produce has been put up for sale. And the advantage here is that by digital footprint, and looking at, same thing as Chetnaji was mentioning, by looking at digital footprint, how can we use, non-traditional means to build the credit history and bring in a variety of partners. So that's what MasterCard has done. We brought in, the banks for cooperative banks. We brought in farmer producer organizations, different buyers, all of that on their ecosystem to now start bringing access to credit for the farmers that need it, right? Build their digital history, build savings. Because one of the things is also not just financial access, but building financial health and resilience. Because the health and resilience is an important aspect of it. So it is taking, looking at things in a non-traditional manner and bringing ecosystem players together, providing the platform for them to be able to succeed and get the right tools that they need. So isme both the input side and the output side, supply and demand matching, where farmers have been able to get nearly 20 to 40% higher pricing for their produce through the use of this platform. So I'll just stop here, but this is an example of an...
Thank you. No, it also shows us how we can leapfrog a few stages if we induct technology into our system. Because the organic growth and forward movement is in any case there. We have a fair amount of momentum right now in the economy and in the country. So this is a force multiplier to be able to get to these stages in a short period of time. With that, let me come to you, Punuswamy. We keep talking of new enterprises, startups, bootstrapped companies. Why don't you tell us a little bit of your story of how you actually started? Because you've been through every stage of these companies, come to a large business now. Tell us a little bit about your beginning.
Yeah. Thank you, sir. Actually, I come from a village of 30 thatched houses near E Road. I am the 5th child of the family, farmer, poor farmer. My eldest brother was working in paper mill as an unskilled worker. Another brother was having a petty shop in our village. This is the background. Somehow I am able to go to college with the support of family. Then, I went to Madras for the job. I studied BSc chemistry, so I got a job of 150 rupees salary at Chennai in a small cosmetic company, a micro unit. I didn't like the job. I am from village, tongue-tied, so much inferiority complex to speak. So decided to shift the job. Went back to the village, it will not work up. Then again I came back because of the family pressure. Then worked in a scientific company, 80 got married, 81 got son. At that only I made decent to start business because I was getting a salary of 650 rupees, which house rent at Chennai will be around 300, 400 rupees. Not able to manage, I started the business. Don't have money, so borrowed from village. 500 rupees, 1000 rupees, 2000, maximum 5000. So now one of my relative gave, so something like that started, collected 36,000. So started the business in a small way. This within 10,000 sale tax deposit, this telephone deposit, all this office furniture. Purchased a Rajut motorcycle on hire purchase, 250 hire purchase is helping cash flow because I had to have cash. So 10,000 gone, 26,000 only capital. So what is that? With 27, what to do? So we used to buy chemicals from the chemical market and give it to customers like Taj. They used to buy the pool chemical like alum, copper sulfate. Put it in nobody willing to give small packing, 1 kilo, 2 kilo. That is how the business started. One of the things what helped is my auditor told me, start a business. You are very young. I was 27. He said, if you want to grow the business, pay properly tax. I think that was my mantra. So we started. And one of the things, I used to go to the bank for getting 5,000 rupees loan to nationalized bank. It was not coming. So our vendor, the supplier, they used to give credit 2 lakh, 3 lakh, something like that. They decided to pay them on time. That is how the business. So that has helped me to build a reputation of a good paymaster and also good taxpayer. This is recognized because later, some years back, when I went to Ahmedabad buy a property, the landlord heard and he has taken check for 5 crores and registered it. Check came after 1 month. See, something like that. They believe that trust is important for an MSME. Cash flow, when you are due payment, you are not making. No. Somehow you have to make it. Sometimes my wife has helped in pledging jewels. My friends, or sometimes I borrowed 48-50% interest. So like that only it came. So one by one, started a small branch in Erode, then went to South India, then all over India, then we went to Dubai, Australia, Singapore, other countries. So our plan is to go to US, Europe. That is, there the market will be good, margins are better.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Thank you. Ravi Raghavan, let me turn to you. Your initiative in Hosur, the factory you put up, is quite a wonder. It has all women operators, I believe, in the machine tool factory. It is quite rare. We do have women operating in electronic companies, textile companies. Very rare in an engineering, manufacturing, machine tool kind of factory. And of course, you deal with lots of small enterprises for their capital needs. What do you think are the unique challenges they face? And what are the solutions? You've looked at this on both ends.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Sunil. As you mentioned also, there's plenty of capital available in the market, but what's very strange is that the availability of knowledge is missing. And I think it's a question that all of us will have to answer. As we interact with many of the small entrepreneurs, first time buying a capital good, machine is about a 30 lakh minimum spend. The technology person would be very happy to spend his time on technology instead of all the paperwork. He's not aware of any of the financial statements. And that's where I think we will all have to spend, educating these people. If we do that, I see a very, very low-hanging fruit in growing the manufacturing sector. Thanks for raising that topic on the factory. Yes, we wanted to start this as an experiment of building very heavy machines. These are some of the machines which are 30 ton. And you see young girls coming from villages outside of town for the first time. And that's where the first thing we also teach them, other than engineering, is how to manage money, because these are girls who have never gone out of town and they don't know anything about money, so they shouldn't get misguided, and that's why this is one of the examples. What we are also wanting to do is work with the NBFCs to educate. This is what we are trying to do along with our normal business, is work with the NBFCs to train many of these entrepreneurs on how to make use of the various financial schemes. But what Punnaswamy is told is the key. We teach them to not do anything that can break the trust of the financial institutions or their partners on either side. This is one of the sort of suggestion I think Punnaswamy and me, other than Sunil, are from the industry side, we would like to suggest to our industry partners is never do that, because in the long run that doesn't pay and the whole cycle breaks. So the whole dream of an entrepreneurial journey may break if they break the trust.
Thank you. Let me ask the other side, exactly as you said. Umesh Revankar, he runs one of the most well-established, reputed NBFCs in the country, and also represents the industry itself. So 90% of the credit demand actually is from small, micro, mid-sized industry. But clearly, access is still a challenge due to partially due to established norms which are rigid, and partially due to this question, the issues you're hearing from some of the other members. What is it you think that is possible that can be done by your sector itself, which is a big bridge in any case between the large formal banks and the actual users, consumers of the finance? How do they get access at appropriate time and appropriate cost with terms that they can actually manage to grow their businesses with?
Yeah, thank you.
And all of them being important. It's not one or the other. All of these need to be met.
Yeah. Let me tell about the NBFC industry in India.
Yeah.
If you look at the world over, you don't hear the word NBFC. It is very special to India. Most of the place it is either a bank or parabank. There is nothing called a non-bank finance company. There are financial institutions. Of course, US has some credit societies and all. India, we have been unique in developing NBFC industry initially by specializing into financing certain assets class. Like the initial starting was hire purchase. Hire purchase of assets was it is called installment payment. That's how it started. Then over the period, many other lending, including housing finance company, gold financing company. Now, when banks are there to lend housing, when banks are there to lend gold finance, then why NBFC have done so well? Take example of gold. Even today, there are more than 1 lakh pawnbrokers are still doing business and doing better and better, in spite of NBFC coming. And banks have become overactive in the last few years because they see that NBFC is doing so well, and one or two NBFCs are hiring big stars to advertise on gold finance. So suddenly banks' interest came up. Otherwise, probably they were not really interested in gold finance. So the opportunity is plenty. So when I say 1 lakh pawnbrokers are available, for every activity you will find lot of lenders are available. But the way they do lending is maybe different. There is a community lending, there is a chit fund lending. So many different ways Indian businessmen used to access to these funds. Now NBFCs have become more formal. The credit has become little more systematic, and more NBFCs are formalizing. It is becoming much easier for formal financial ecosystem to develop data. See, what bank wants is a credit history of 15 years, 20 years to give them a loan. And NBFCs being the first company, or maybe after moneylender, first formal credit system, they develop the habit of the individuals in building a discipline into the in the business. That's how the NBFCs have progressed over the period. Few numbers, if you look at the MSME lending, the banks they have grown in the last 2 years 12.7 and 12.4 year on year, but NBFC have grown 21.2 and 42.4 year on year. See, that means the NBFC's growth in the MSME lending is growing faster. It also has a reason. When the GDP growth goes faster, imagine if GDP is growing at around 7 now, 7 plus. The credit required to grow this economy is around 3 times. People say 2.5, some people say 3 times. That's around 20% is the credit growth needed. What banks can provide is only 11 to 12% or maximum 15% in the best of the time. That means that credit gap has to be met by some other institutions. It can be formal or informal. And NBFCs have developed these skills today to meet those credit gap. In fact, the World Bank study in 2012 said that credit gap for MSME is 20 lakh crore in 2012. 2020, the new report has come. They say credit gap is 40 lakh crore. That means the credit gap has doubled in 8 years, in spite of having so many banking and NBFC institutions. And it's mostly because underbanking. It's not having a bank account. Everywhere you find underbanking or timely lending doesn't happen. If a proposal is given, if the proposal is met after 3 months or 6 months, then the business is already gone to somebody else. So people normally go to the nearest source of credit. It can be private or it can be the NBFCs. So today NBFCs have become nimble-footed. The fintech also is helping NBFCs to grow. Overall, I feel the NBFCs being smarter and able to reach out to the customer. And normally one advantage is we go to the customer. We identify and go to the customer, NBFCs. And typically bank expects customer to come to them. So that's the difference between NBFC and banking system. I think as Sunil, the best thing, explanation what I can give is, we try to customize the credit need, understand and customize. We don't go by rigid credit policy, which is centrally defined, and go by the previous track record or algorithm all the time. Because you need to customize and change if at all you want to be partner of a businessman.
Although RBI is putting more and more regulations on NBFCs now to in their words, keep them in check. So we need to figure out a balance. You're right. And Dr. Joshi, would you like to comment on two other things that have come up here? One is, you also mentioned there are a number of schemes available. There's a massive amount allocated as financing available for MSMEs. Why then is this gap still there, this knowledge gap and access gap? What is causing this? How do you think it can be bridged? And the second one, to the point that was just being made about NBFCs reaching out, but RBI, in a sense, reining them in, where does the balance lie? Please take this.
So Sunil, I think, this is a news to me, the numbers you narrated in your introductory remark, how many
Schemes.
I don't know, more than 500 schemes,
700.
700 being run by state and center put together, and I think more than 300 by the central government only. So this is a really big number, and I think for anybody to know all these schemes is really difficult.
So one way maybe to reduce them actually.
To reduce the number of schemes actually. Yeah. So there is a need, I would say, to review these schemes. Then my other experience of when I look at various government schemes, the way they are written, they have, the target group is missing. For whom this paper is written actually is many times, they are not properly focused and able to reach to the desired stakeholder. And then there are gaps, when you write. So people in Delhi are writing in English and then it gets translated, and your ultimate stakeholder is, he is working in a local language. So there is a need to address these issues not only for MSME schemes but for various other government schemes. So target group, when we write schemes, is very important. Then is what I see from for the financial sector schemes, there is a need to have a sector-wise approach actually. So each sector within MSME is quite different, and there are gaps in capacities of our lenders also, whereby they need to develop expertise in order to understand the requirement of the other side. So that is something, those are the things where government or banks should be working. Then the other stakeholders like industry bodies, both at the national level and at the state level, there's a need to be a bridge between the government or government schemes and the ultimate user of those schemes. I think that part, as also mentioned by Ravi here, is very important, how to articulate and reach out to the ultimate beneficiary, I would say. Then I think financing is one issue, because the requirement, as mentioned by Umesh, is increasing. You would see, there is a velocity in terms of requirement, which probably the supply side is not able to meet with. But the another perspective, another factor is the pending payments by large corporates to these MSMEs, including our public sectors. There is a need to kind of work over there, and I think, if I remember correctly, there was some rule in Income Tax Department that if you want to get...
I think that has got broadly fixed now. The period has got fixed, so you can't go beyond that.
Okay. So
and I don't know of any large company actually which extends beyond that and now any longer. Unless somebody is defaulting, but by and large that is being followed now.
So that
in fact, there was a very interesting incident the other day. There was a small enterprise saying, I want to give I want to give them longer credit. I don't want payments so early because I get an advantage if I'm able to give them. So it actually became a very strange situation because they are no longer allowed. Yeah. By law, they cannot extend the period. So Chetan, let me come back to you. You also run a foundation. So how do you distinguish between the work that the foundation does and what you're doing through the financial support? And are these two running hand in hand, or do they do completely different things?
See, actually, why did we start it foundation? It's when women came forward, they said we want to do savings, so we started a bank. Then women came forward and they said we want to do businesses. We want to manage our finances. So bank cannot do that. So then we thought, why not start a foundation? And we started a business school for rural women. It was a first business school which goes to, as Umesh mentioned, about the doorstep. So we have business school on wheels. And you know what? We talk always about women and then we come to kapad and papad. But actually, at the ground, it's not always like that. Women are not sitting in the home. They're working in the fields. They're rearing animals. They're doing hard work in the field also. So then we thought, when we are starting a business school on wheels, why don't we create those businesses as a sample in the buses, and the buses will go to the villages, right? So they can see the business, how to make a spice powder, or make a paper cup and paper plates. Or some women are also running the workshops, as Ravi mentioned about the Chambers of Commerce. So this Chambers of Commerce also has been sponsored by foundation, because if they do business, there are a lot of other things apart finance, right? Getting the FSSAI license, getting the registration, Udyam Aadhaar, all the documents for the loan, all these things. So we have the network of Udyam Sakhi. And these Udyam Sakhi, they move around like Asha workers in the villages. Then we have a bus which goes into the village, which is called Business School on Wheels. And I would like to say, and then we have a radio where women can market their product on the radio. So this is how it's like when women do the business, and she does not have a network, because every day she has to take care of her children, have a family responsibility. So even to get the information about business, she doesn't have a network like CII, right? So we have Mandeshi Chambers of Commerce, MasterCard together, get this network, get the capital, get the knowledge, get the wisdom. And when they have all these things, you know what our women say? Our women say that if we get all these things, we can convert our courage in capital. So that is the lesson we learned from women. Thank you.
Actually, I would like to ask one question with your permission.
Sure, please.
On self-help groups, how do you, what is the equation or relationship of your organization with the self-help group?
Very, very important question, Dr. Joshi. So the self-help groups brings one thing is women out of the house and with her own finance, not the house finance. नहीं तो otherwise घर से पैसा मिलता है ये नहीं. This is my money. I save with the collective on which I have control, and when I'm going to spend, it will be my decision. So that brings not only money, but spending on money and decision making, number one. Now what we do with the self-help group is that all these buses which are moving, they organize in the villages, these workshops, classes, everything, because these groups want that first access to finance come from self-help group. But then later on, it has to grow to individual. I would like to say actually, Dr. Joshi, that in India, microcredit industry is $60 billion industry. And who has benefited? Even the investors have earned from that because self-help groups and joint liability groups have paid in time, right?
They have the best NPA
Yes.
record, by the way.
So that is but now they are ready for the business. So now it is very important.
I'm going to stop you here because we have little time left. I want the audience to also come into the conversation. Yes, please. Can we ask? Yeah. Can we get a mic here, please? Yeah.
Thank you, Sunil.
Yeah.
I have a question and an input for Dr. Joshi. Sir, there is tremendous support to the MSME sector. But as we mature, and I'm talking more of the technology and more of the knowledge industries, for that matter, even other industries. So you give money against fixed assets.
Nalin, short question, please. I want 3-4 of them together.
Yeah.
And we have
you give money for working
6 minutes to go. Yeah.
Yeah. Where you don't give money through the banking system is A for marketing and B for R&D. So sir, that great scheme that you had for credit guarantee during emergency, if that can be sort of modified to take care of this would actually be a big force accelerator.
Got it. Thank you.
Sir,
and second part?
Second part.
Just switch to that. Yeah.
Second part is a quick feedback. So the TRED scheme, I won't name the bank, the second largest bank in the country. And the branch says there's only one branch in Delhi who deals with TREDs. So it's really on the ground, not working. So,
Okay.
so that is one thing which needs to be done. Thank you.
Yes, please. We'll get 2 or 3 questions together, and then can you get a mic here, please? Yeah.
Thank you. The question is that, you see, as we are listening from the self-help group, the loans are being given against the performance of the borrower without collateral. Now, this is a major issue with all MSMEs, that the constraint is that the banks ask for fixed collateral, immovable collateral. So the SME must first go and buy a piece of land and a building and then go and apply for a loan, which sounds strange to me. Why can't we move away from this system in the banking?
Okay. Yes, please. Get the mic there again.
Sir, I represent the startup ecosystem part of that. And I would like to say that, you mentioned about 2 things, how established players can partner with fintechs and then, plug into their established machinery. And we've been doing that. So thank you so much for that championship. And I have a question on this. Once the startups grow into a, fairly big enterprise, how do they then graduate to a larger enterprise? It's like gully mein cricket khelne se, now when you have to represent India, how do you kind of graduate to that?
Okay. Next, please.
Sir,
yeah.
So my question is to Mr. Joshi. It's related to the concern faced by the MSMEs. Sir, the NPA policy for the MSME borrower and the individual borrower is 3 months. So my point is, in case of any adversities faced by the business, if the MSME fails to meet his liabilities within 3 months, so his entire track record gets disrupted, and his financial future is completely dead. So can government support in framing a different NPA policy with some more time?
Okay. Yes, please. We'll make this the last question now.
Hello all. I'll just speak for 30 seconds. Please allow me to put my points. I just want to know why, after so many years, we are still brainstorming on this subject. Here, somebody was speaking about micro, funding. So there's a big gap between micro and macro. So aren't those people who are in the macro level, aren't they they are capable of creating jobs for people? So why can't a demographical survey be taken and, it should be like as they make voters card, PAN card and all those things, it should be easier than that, that you should arrive at a figure of who all can create jobs. Because I heard somewhere that all the black money will be used for some good purpose. So why can't the funding be just given just like that for within 1 and 2% interest?
All right.
Thank you.
Okay. Would you like to take that?
I would like to take
sure. Go ahead, please.
questions if you are.
Yeah.
So with regard to working capital for marketing and R&D, I think I've taken note of your suggestion and we'll look into it. About threats, that's a good feedback. If you can bilaterally inform me about the bank where it is not working, I mean, just to take your issues forward, and that will help us. Collateral of collateral of land is needed for MSME loans. Is it demanded by all the banks, or I mean, there are specific projects on which the banks are demanding, or specific banks are demanding?
It's almost a
always. Then they will entertain you. And your point about NPA, that is a regulatory policy by RBI, and I think for all kind of loans it is 90 days only. So your issue is that we need to increase it for MSME more than 90 days.
Actually, it's not only MSME, it's also seasonality of some businesses. Some businesses have a period, there's a high period and a low period. So at that time, you may not get payment in 90 days, you may get payment in 100 days or 120 days. So it's a cyclicality of the industry itself.
I think this issue needs more
it
closer
certainly
examination
needs a closer look.
By the Reserve Bank and the government.
Sir, Prabhat Kumar committee has recommended already for 180 days. Already a committee is formed. I think 180 days.
Actually, there is a committee at this moment looking at this fact, but they've not come out with their final study yet.
Actually, there is a committee also in which I am also a member. We are examining the issues of MSME financing, and MSME secretary is also a member. I think we will soon submit a report to the finance secretary. And
Dr. Joshi, I have one suggestion. We're going through a very different phase now in India, where the manufacturing is going to the next step, and that's going to be a big driver now. Now the question with the MSMEs particularly is, should I go for a conventional sort of capital goods or an advanced technology products? And that's a differential in the capital required. Earlier there was an interest subvention scheme and other schemes. I think it's time that government revisits and does that. Otherwise we'll be faltering on the exports. Second is also some amount of support on either the interest or the credit levels for environment, sustainable, friendly capital goods purchases. Otherwise, we may again get into a problem on that. Thanks.
So I think it's important in all decisions that we make now that the impact on the environment and sustainability is kept in mind is an important consideration, because that we already know the damage that has been caused. So and some say we may already be too late, but at least now let's start to take all appropriate action wherever we can. I'm sorry, we've run out of time. And there were 2 questions or 3 questions that 2 are still unanswered. Yours is about a much longer question. It's not a half a minute answer, but it's a very important question. How post startup do you actually go to the next level and then the next level? But that's also the journey of any other enterprise. And I think that needs to be part of the DNA of how the organization is built. And as it grows, it also needs to mature. It needs to transform itself. It needs to to bring in the kind of talent that is required, and sometimes that talent is different from the talent who's actually founder of the company. And it is important for those who own businesses, who invest in businesses, to understand that their value and wealth lies in the business. So if they think that is the case, then they ought to do what's best for the business, even if it means somebody else running the business than themselves. And I think that's a transition which does not always come easily, but more and more companies are beginning to understand that, more and more families are beginning to understand and appreciate that. That's one change which has happened across the globe. We are seeing that happen more and more in India as well. But it is early days right now, I think. We will still make a few mistakes as we go along, and that's part of the industry itself. It's part of maturing, part of growing up. In any case, success rate of early stage companies are still low, and with experience, exposure, and having made our own mistakes, I hope we will learn from those as well. But overall, I think the subject that is being discussed of access to, availability of, and cost of funding is a critical, important one. It's the lifeblood of enterprise. And this enterprise is, in turn, the backbone of overall the economy of any country. Certainly it is in India. And I think as CII, we understand the importance and also the urgency of addressing this. As it appears the government does, and as I mentioned at the start, there are a very large number of initiatives that have been launched by the government to address this. I hope we are able to make them more comprehensive, make them more accessible, and easier and more responsive to the consumer, as you said, Dr. Joshi, so that we are speaking the same language and have the same kind of understanding for this. To all of the panelists, thank you very much. I'm sorry we've run out of time. I know there are some more of you who had raised hands, but at another occasion. Thank you very much.
Thank you, speakers, for a very enriching discussion. Let's have a loud round of applause. May I now request Mr. Monjal to hand over a token of appreciation to the speakers, please. Dr. Vivek Joshi.
There you go. There you are. And there you are. Very nice. Thank you.
Ms. Chetna Sinha.
There you are. And let me get that as well. And here you are.
Mr. Ravi Arora.
Ravi, can I reach out from here itself? And get both. There you go.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
There you go.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
Thank you for coming and thank you for your comments. Thank you so much.
Mr. Ravi Raghavan.
We won't be able to finish otherwise. There you go. Thanks. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Mr. Umesh Revankar.
Thank you. And this one. Thank you.
And Mr. M. Ponnuswamy.
Thank you.
I would also request Mr. M. Ponnuswamy to kindly present the token of appreciation to Mr. Monjal.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. With this, we come to the close of this session.